Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another installment of the Rufus Rundown. It is your boy Rufus back again with another solo installment of the Rufus Rundown. Most recently, had Cam Rodgers on the show, and finally first guest of season 4. I believe this is gonna be episode 7. A little missed week there. I mean, partially, I guess, a missed week. With my spring break trip, but I'm going to have a video from that, not on this channel, but on the other channel. That'll be my first video on the other channel. I'll have that set and ready to go in the very near future. Very fun time down in Florida, very fun time on spring break as a whole. Get to meet a lot of different people, get to hang out with some different people. Really good time overall, good break away from everything. Like I said, there's still stuff that I did down there in terms of content-wise, but back on the grind here. There's going to be more Instagram posts, more questions I have for you guys, or at least discussion driving posts, clips from this show, clips from any of these shows, more clips from Cam's show, because Cam's show did very well. Cam's show up over 60 views. I'd like to get Cam's show to 100 views because, what we talk about in that episode, goes much further than just, this time frame. Of course, Cam's going to be back on the show in the future as well. Hopefully over the summer I'll be able to get Cam on for sure. But I was really appreciative of Cam's time, what he was able to do, and the things that he was able to say. We had a couple laughs. We had some serious discussion. It's not exactly ideal over Zoom, but it's convenient. And I think it went very, very well. Shout out to Ethan Souza for big help on the graphic. While we're on the subject of Ethan's actually going to be joining us on the show this week to discuss the upcoming racing season, his graphic design work, stuff like that. So, again, the guests are going to be coming fast and furious here. I'm trying to do a weekly guest and then try to do a weekly solo pod. I think the rundown itself is going to become Tuesdays. I think Tuesdays is just a fair day. And even when the NFL season comes around and stuff too, Tuesday is just a fair day to go. And when I have a set date to do this stuff on, it doesn't create this anxiety of, I'm not going to cover certain news, I'm going to miss something. Like, I can touch on big news throughout the week with, individual videos, with reels, with a minute or two here or there. Doesn't have to be YouTube content, it can be TikToks, Instagram, whatever it may be. I need to get into more of that anyways, so, as it goes throughout the week, I can talk about that stuff. And then here, having that set day, it allows me throughout the week to, kind of check the boxes of what I want to talk about, what's more recent, what's more current. It's not daily. I'm not talking about games daily unless it's a big game that I happen to watch or a big injury that, happened the night before. I will wait until, the morning of. This is the morning of before I will be putting this out. So that's just kind of where that stands. But like I said, shout out Ethan, of course, doing these logos, doing the graphic for that show. That was an incredible graphic. Hopefully for the guests that I continue to bring on, I can continue to present a good marketable graphic like that. And I'm trying to venture into that work on my own, so I'm not always relying on Ethan. But Ethan's huge help with it. I can't say enough good things about him in terms of the help with that, because there's a lot of places that I wouldn't be right now without the help of Ethan and his logo design and his graphic design with a lot of the stuff that I've done. So again, huge shout out to him. But like I said, more guests are coming. Got a lot of different people that are interested in coming on that I got lined up. I've got a whole big, list, whole big sheet of people that I do want to bring on, and that would want to come on. I got a whole other list of people that I got to contact to bring on to that I think will be good guests for the show as we move on throughout the year. So that's pretty much where we stand there. So here's my ad reads off the bat. Ethan's already out of the way. We already got Ethan. Know Yourself coming up as well too. They have, my roommate Israel, huge restock on, I believe, the jumpsuits, so big restock and other stuff that he will be putting out there as well. So be sure to check out Know Yourself. I have the information linked in the description. And then Jared Ansell, Performance, Strength, and Conditioning. Summer's coming around the corner. You don't have to be, a competing athlete to get in good shape and look good for the summer. So that's definitely the guy you want to hit up for that, no matter what it may be in terms of your strength and conditioning needs. He's the guy you want to see. So again, his information will be linked down below. So decent show for you guys today. We got, of course, as I said, thank you to Cam Rodgers once again for jumping on the last episode. I thought it was great. Thought it was really good work. Thought he spoke very well, and I think it's only going to get better with time as we talk about more things and, venture off the different things. But I think setting up, bringing on Cam that way, giving him his full episode and everything we talked about, put him in pretty good light. We were able to shed some light on some, awesome people as well, too, outside of just Cam. And I think it should do very well, and I want to get it to 100 views. 100 views is my goal with that one. I believe it sits at 63 right now. So 100 is the goal. Share it out. Get it out there. Get me up to 100 views, please. Just send it to anybody. Just a click. Just click for that view. Even if it hurts the view duration, I just want 100 views in that thing. But every number in the metrics, it did better than the majority of my videos. So, again, huge shout out to Cam. UMass Dartmouth's run to the Sweet 16. A little touch on that. And then, Tom Brady obviously is back. That's I guess, sort of kind of worth addressing. The greatest quarterback, arguably one of the greatest team sport athletes of all time. Aaron Rodgers, he stays in Green Bay, which, doesn't surprise me. I think retirement was more likely than anything than him making a move. You have the Russell Wilson to Denver. That's worth addressing as well, to Deshaun Watson. The NFL offseason's been off to a heater. So March Madness and then the MLB lockout. And I'm wearing the Liverpool kit. That'll be more worth talking about next week. After this game against Arsenal, it might even be worth addressing because if we're 1 point off of City's heels, more or less, I'll be addressing that, very, very soon. So, I mean, a lot to talk about. MLB lockout really shouldn't be competing with the NFL in the offseason, given the time periods, but it's how things have to happen. It's how things go. And we'll run with it. I'm just excited baseball is back. So, without further ado, UMass Dartmouth, they exit in the Sweet 16 of the national tournament. It was a solid run all season. I've touched on the topic of UMass Dartmouth men's basketball many times on these shows. Jake Ashworth and JC Santos will both be guests that I'm interested in bringing on, and there are probably other guys in the team that I can bring on as well. Hopefully Tommy Keys too, one of the coaches. There's these guys from there that I want to be able to bring on, and I want to get in touch with to bring on and do different things with them. Jake specifically with kind of like a career retrospective in terms of everything, his favorite games, favorite moments, and how from freshman year to there, how it built up. But again, really enjoyed watching them throughout the season. A lot of close friends there, a lot of just good, solid people between them and the girls squad. And a Sweet 16, be one of the best 16 teams in the nation. Never can take that away from them. Jake's up there in the banner at 10th all time in scoring. Really, really fun to watch. I still think they have a very bright future ahead of them. They graduate some really, really impressive seniors. Full 1,000 point score is pretty crazy. But the future is still, I think is still very bright for UMass Dartmouth. Like I said, just wanted to congratulate them on making it to that point. Really, really enjoyed watching them this season. A lot of high character individuals, a lot of high level play of basketball. Really, really impressive basketball down the stretch that I got to enjoy. Only 15 minutes away from home, and if I did drive home from school, 1 hour 15, not that far away to see some very high level basketball from a lot of people that I have good and solid relationships with. So the next thing up is Tom Brady being unretired. He whopping 41 days. Kim K's had longer marriages. I guess worth addressing now with everything going on with him and Pete Davidson. But no pop culture in this podcast, please, God, no. Maybe on the vlogs, once I get vlogging the other account, that might be on its way, but not here. Not here. That's more of that's an entertainment thing. That is not here. This is sports entertainment. It totally shifts the odds of everything. Division, conference, Super Bowl odds, MVP odds, everything. Even the odds for Mike Evans, or Chris Godwin, whoever it may be, to get over a certain amount. It shifts everything because he's the greatest quarterback to ever play the game of football. And like I said, free agent signings and everything too. A lot of people probably ready to take a 1 year pay cut to come back and play with Tom, like Leonard Fournette, probably set to come back. A lot of those offensive linemen, either one that retirements and going to get different paychecks. It's all going to change now because Tom Brady is back in the building as the magic sauce, as a special sauce. Second MVP voting. It's not like this guy wasn't playing at a high level, and he was declining, which is why I wasn't surprised when he did come out of retirement. Wasn't surprised when he did retire, but I also wasn't surprised when he didn't retire as well. I would say when he unretired, I should say. Doesn't surprise me either. Really either way. If he wanted to go be a dad and consistently be a dad and hang around his family at 45, no one's gonna blame him. Doesn't shock me. 22 years in the league, but at the same time, it's not like he was on the decline. And this dude is a competitor. This guy competes at the highest level no matter what he's doing. Yeah, I think he said he would retire when he sucks, which I don't necessarily agree with, but this is long ago. But he certainly doesn't, maybe not suck. Maybe if he does, decline, becomes more not an elite quarterback, but just a top 15 quarterback. Yeah, Tom, that's in the category of sucks. Yeah, you can step away. But we're not even close to this. He led in every passing category, finished second MVP voting. So I just think it'd be totally crazy for him to step away. And now he's back. And like I said, as a Saints fan, it hurts. It stings. We're looking at Deshaun Watson now, which I thought, we were going to have one of the better, even if we did have Jameis with Matt Ryan there in our defense, I think we still have one of the better teams in that division. I think the best team in that division, realistically, as long as Watson didn't go to the Panthers. But he's between us and the Panthers for, Deshaun Watson. We need someone to compete with Tom. We need an elite quarterback. You need an elite quarterback in this league to compete at that level. Jameis was very good. We don't know what he's going to look like returning from his injury. These rookies, you're not going to be able to compete with Tom Brady with these rookie quarterbacks as much as I do like Kenny Pickett out of Pitt. So Deshaun will be a huge get for us if we're able to get him to compete with Tom. Like I said, free agent is going to take pay cuts. It's going to be totally different re-signing guys and signing guys. And Carlton Davis is back. So a lot of guys will be more willing to negotiate and work in different things and have more incentive-laden contracts to be a part of this with Tom Brady to try and not run it back because they didn't win the Super Bowl, but to go back, they lost in the divisional, but continue to compete at this very, very high level that the Buccaneers have never really been at for this extended period of time. So Bucs fans are happy. The fake Patriots fans that just follow Tom Brady around everywhere, they are very happy today as well. Your Bucs bandwagoners, which honestly the ones that are starting to kind of notice that they are and just kind of commit to it. I'm not even going to get angry at the people that say that they are doing what they're doing because that's just what they're doing. That's not how to pretend that you're not is what frustrates me when it comes to stuff like that. Oh, I'm not doing that. I'm just wishing Tom well, but you're then a full-on Buccaneers fan. It doesn't vibe me. I don't hate Bucs fans. And I don't hate, the decent side of Patriots fans. Maybe the 10% of Patriots fans that aren't totally insane and don't watch maybe one game a year but try to tell me they didn't more than football me because they root for the Patriots. That's what gets on my nerves. But that's 90% of the fan bases, which is why I consider the majority of that fan base to be that. Which I think is, I think it's fair. I think it's fair. If the other percentage, are you going to stop being a fan? Like I did. I just saw how disgusting and miserable and just Patriots fans were. Just very, very, very angering. The majority of that fan base, especially when you get sports radio involved into it and the different expectations and stuff. You lose one game and all of a sudden it's what do we have to do to fix the next 5 years and how are we going to win the next 10 Super Bowls? Very, very insane head-tapped fan base that now can just, again, jump over, if Mac Jones, obviously going to be in his second year, I don't see them as a Super Bowl threat this year. They can just jump right back on with Tom and the Buccaneers like nothing happened. Somebody wins. Someone's going to make me feel good as a fan, right? I'm a fan. I'm wishing Tom well, Buccaneers. Anyways, that happened. Tom Brady's there. Now Aaron Rodgers, $200 million mega deal. He stays in Green Bay, and it actually lowers his cap hit because of how the money's worked out and how the contract goes to pay him that money. Devontae Adams said he won't play under the franchise tag that he's tagged under currently. I'm sure there was discussion between him and Aaron because Devontae certainly can work some money out of this by saying he won't. But I'm sure there was discussion beforehand that they say they remain far apart. I'm sure that's what it's going to be until a certain set date and time where they work closer to what they want to get. Devontae Adams is going to work every single cent out of the Packers that he can. They recently brought Devondre Campbell back, who had a very good year. I think 5 years, $50 million. So he's set to be there for a while. He's trying to find his way in the league, and then had a really, really good year for them. But yeah, Davante Adams, arguably the best receiver in the game, probably the best route runner in the game. I think Jamar Chase will have something to be said for himself by the end of this next season. But yeah, Davante Adams will not play under that franchise tag and will be looking for a very, very expensive long-term deal. As he should, especially if he's there at the same time as Rodgers. I mean, Rodgers will go right back to retirement if Davante Adams isn't there. I believe. I don't think there's any way that Davante Adams doesn't end up in a Green Bay Packers uniform. Now, whether he misses some time or not into that, I don't know. But I realistically, I think everything's going to be okay. Whether they can get help around them to win at a high level, I'm not exactly positive of. Now, they might lose out on some talent elsewhere, but realistically, when you have Rodgers, Adams, and you have, they cut one of the big pass rushers, the Packers should be fine. There should be no more excuses for the Packers. Aaron Rodgers should have at least one more Super Bowl with him for him to walk out on top with. Whether that's next year or not, I don't know. There's a lot to take place and a lot to happen. But yeah, I don't see any way, shape, or form that Davante Adams isn't in a Green Bay Packers uniform next year playing with Aaron Rodgers. So, of course, with the whole NFL offseason, you have Russell Wilson to the Broncos, Drew Lock, Noah Fant going the other way, and then a ton of draft picks as well. Khalil Mack going to the Chargers. Mitchell Trubisky being the new quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers, at least for the next 2 years. Jarvis Landry being cut. Amari Cooper going to the Browns. You can go through the whole list here. With CJ Uzomah going to the Jets. Xavier Woods, the Panthers, the Bengals getting Kappa and Ted Karras to help out with that offensive line that struggled so much throughout the season, or at least in the season and especially in the playoffs. The Jaguars splashing out a lot of cash to guys that I'm not sure that they should be splashing out that much cash to, between Christian Kirk, Fayad Olakun, I believe Zay Jones. You throw Zay Jones in there too. I believe I saw a report about Zay Jones. Evan Ingram to the Jags as well. The Bears, cutting ties with some of their defensive players. J.C. Jackson on a big deal to the Chargers. Teddy Bridgewater going to Miami to back up Tua, who's been hurt often early in his career, which is kind of weird because this is a guy that the franchise is so dead set on Tua, right? Like, they get rid of Brian Flores for a couple reasons that they said. But mainly because, the main thing was, right, that he didn't believe in Tua Tagovailoa. And now they bring in Teddy Bridgewater, who's a solid start. He's not above average, but he's solid. He's not the worst option you have for starters league. He's probably the best backup at the moment. And they get Teddy Bridgewater to get behind this guy. Now, I know he's had some injuries, and that might be the thought process there too, but again, this is a guy that you're supposed to have so much faith in, right? You want your head coach to be, have full faith in, right? Even though it wasn't his guy, you want him to put all his faith into Tua, and then you're bringing in one of, a guy basically to compete with him. It's a weird look for Miami there on its lonesome with the Teddy Bridgewater deal. Like I said, we can keep going down the list. Cedric Wilson going to the Dolphins. James Conner staying in Arizona. Chase Edmonds going to the Dolphins. Bobby Wagner looking at possibly going to Denver after Bobby Wagner was cut by the Seahawks. Colt McCoy staying as a backup in Arizona. I mean, there's just some, like I said, Devondre Campbell staying. B.J. Hill staying in Cincinnati. Like I said, they added some offensive line help, and they have let a couple of their guys walk, but he's going to go. Braxton Berrios staying with the Jets. The Jaguars splashed out a lot of cash. Brandon Schreff as well, too, intending to sign with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Quandre Diggs, who had a tough injury, will stay with the Seahawks on a pretty decent deal. Like I said, Ogunjobi, the former Bengals defensive tackle, going to the Bears, and then they cut ties with their other nose tackle in Eddie Goldman. The Dolphins also kept Emmanuel Ogbah, the defensive end, for some edge pressure. Kirk Cousins, they gave him a $35 million extension. Zach Ertz staying in Arizona for a couple more years now. The Michael Gallup deal got worked out. Isaiah McKenzie, they worked out a deal with him in Buffalo, and Devin McCourty sticking around in New England being some of the bigger moves thus far. One of the other big ones, too, was the huge Max Crosby extension. I mean, there's so many of these moves that we can go through. Obviously, want to address the Jaguars. Briefly touched on the tour, Teddy Bridgewater. Just really weird for a team that's so bought into this guy and will fire a winning head coach. And that for a guy that they want to have complete faith in their starting quarterback. And then when it comes around to it, they're gonna get one of the best backups in the league and a reputable starter. So it's just that in its own, it's a weird look. I do want to touch on the Max Crosby super extension. It was a $95 million deal in new money, so I think 98.98 was the final number. $53 million guaranteed, 4-year deal. This is one of the most effective pass pressurers in the league off of the edge, or just in general, actually, one of the best pass pressures. Has really worked in a lot of moves. He fought back to sobriety. He struggled with addiction and has fought back to get this huge deal. Both him and Darren Waller. Different stories, of course, different backgrounds of what they struggled with, but just incredible story to see that kind of money go out to him. Ass on fire syndrome, man. You hit rock bottom, and then you never want to even think about what those lows are again, and you just grind back to a point that this is such an incredible reward. It's so much bigger than the football what he has earned here, and I can't help but feel incredibly happy for a guy like Max Crosby. One of the next jerseys that I'm actually looking into getting is a Max Crosby Raiders jersey. Both him and Waller, both very, very inspiring stories. But like I said, Max Crosby, not only is it impressive just to be able to have battled back from that addiction and then play at a high level, but play at an elite level. This guy is one of the best pressurers, defensive line pressurers in the entire NFL. But yeah, the Khalil Mack one's a good one too. Of course, Brandon Staley was his linebackers coach because he's an edge guy, DN linebacker kind of hybrid. Was an All-Pro at both when he was with it was Oakland at the time. At both linebacker and defensive end because of how effectively he's able to play both positions. It's a good deal. I think it's a good deal to bring him in. He's had some problems with injury. He hasn't played at that high of a level, but that defense was terrible. That Chargers defense struggled mightily. I mean, you have Derwin James, you have Joey Bosa, but they really struggled against the run. You got to add weapons because Justin Herbert's that rookie contract. So you bring in J.C. Jackson for a big deal. Khalil Mack with the trade. They are actively going out to build up that defense and help out Justin Herbert on that side of the ball so that way, he can have the ball in his hands when the game is on the line. They can make stops with the game on the line. They can get the ball back to their guy with the game on the line. And more specifically, to stop that run game so that you have an elite quarterback that can have the ball in his hands and you can compete in shootouts because the other team can't just keep the ball out of his hands and run a lot of clock. I think they're very smart moves, very good moves. Of course, these guys have to perform up to the level that they have played at in the past. I don't think the asking price was too crazy for Khalil Mack, and I think that they at the end of the day they should work out because you have to compete in that West because especially with the Russell Wilson deal now. We'll address the Russell Wilson deal now. That's 3 top 8 quarterbacks in one division in the AFC. It's loaded. It's loaded with talent. And of course, there's just that level of competition. Like I say a lot of times, when someone's, when you're running your own race, I don't really think you're ever going to really set your own PRs when you're not racing against somebody. It's going to be hard to set true PRs running against yourself. But when you have someone else to run against, it's always going to keep pushing you to that next level, to that next tier, as long as they're working just as hard as you and trying to compete with you and win just as bad as you are and at that similar skill level. That's the case with this division, much similar to the NFC West and how competitive they are with their weapons between Kyler Murray, Matt Stafford, which was Russell Wilson, and it was the 49ers with Garoppolo. Now it's very, very difficult in the AFC West with Wilson, Mahomes, and Justin Herbert. You have to find, it's not just those guys. You have to put all the weapons around. Herbert being on his rookie deal still is a huge, huge plus in terms of cap room. To the same note as the Broncos do have a good bit of cap room to work with too, even after the acquisition of Russell Wilson. A lot will play out in that division. I think it really hurts all of their Super Bowl chances, to be honest, because they are gonna beat up on each other throughout the year. And don't sleep on Derek Carr either. I think the Raiders are still, like I said, Max Crosby, Darren Waller. There's still going to be the chance where they add an outside receiver threat. Derek Carr getting another new head coach for Derek Carr. It's just this guy keeps going new playbooks, new systems every year, new guys, and continues to perform. One of the most underrated QBs in the league, I think, one of the biggest dark horses in the league. And it's a shame that I think he's going to embrace being in the shade from those three superstars, because it'll allow them to just kind of run on their own. I mean, even though they are in Vegas, they're going to probably be the lesser of the three stories amongst those three quarterbacks. And I kind of think that Vegas team kind of feeds off that underdog mentality. I think that's what Bisaccia had in them. That underdog mentality. They don't think we can do it. Let's do it despite them type deal. I kind of think that culture that they have built in Vegas, especially with guys like Waller and Crosby, that underdog mentality, that prove them wrong mentality, I think is actually good for them, which makes it for a very, very entertaining division where there won't be a single game that's not up to par, that shouldn't be in prime time, that won't be worth watching out there in that division, especially once they get into interdivisional games. So, like I said, that Mac trade, the J.C. Jackson addition, I think the offensive line is pretty much good because the Slater deal, Slater draft pick was really good last year, but they're going to continue to add maybe not as much weapons, but fix the weak links around Herbert, because that's not one. He's on a cheap deal, so you have the ability to go out and get these superstars around him until you have to pay him out for that big contract extension. I think the Amari Cooper trade, if the Cowboys were set on releasing him, a 6th-round pick, getting a 6th-round pick, or really a 5th-round pick because they swapped 6th, right? So getting a 5th-round pick for Amari Cooper, it doesn't seem like you should get more for a guy of Amari Cooper's talent, but if you were set to release him anyways, getting whatever you can get for him is pretty good. You think you probably could get, you probably could get more for him, but, both ways, I think CeeDee Lamb is a true number one. I think Michael Gallup's been very good, and when you get him back from injury, he's going to be productive. Cedric Wilson, I think, is a loss, especially considering value, but you weren't going to be able to match that price if you're willing to cut Amari too. Like I said, I think CeeDee Lamb's a stud. I think getting whatever you can get for him if you were set on cutting him is a plus. And I think for the Browns, I don't think Landry's been anywhere near as good as advertised as he was in Miami. So I think it's good to part ways with him. It's something you wish you could have got a 6th or a 7th for, but you end up having to cut him. And we'll see the Chiefs. The Chiefs and the Saints will be after him. He's not a true number one anymore. I have to play underneath out of the slot, very specific. Amari Cooper still can be a true number one. You get what you get for Odell. It didn't really work out too well. Baker was banged up and hurt. You still need to be able to give him a fighting chance. You just can't give him Donovan Peoples-Jones and nothing else, because this guy's in a contract year. You still need to understand what you have here. There's still a chance that the jury's still out. A lot of people are down on him. A lot of people have sold stock in him. But there's still a chance that Baker Mayfield can be your franchise quarterback. So you need to be able to give him at least a shot to prove that to you before he goes elsewhere and does it with their weapons. I still think he can be a guy. But again, AFC is loaded with weapons now. The addition of Russell Wilson, you got Burrow in your conference, you got Lamar Jackson, who I think everybody tends to forget about. Lamar Jackson is one of the most transcendent talents in the league. This guy is an MVP, former MVP, and an elite playmaker through the air and with his legs. And again, they're going to add some pieces around him as well to help him. And I think the Ravens are poised for a really big bounce back year. They were struck so hard by injuries this past year. I think I could see them responding very well in this coming season with Lamar. And now you have Trubisky. So I still think you have you're still your third best quarterback in that league, at least not league division. I think Baker's a better quarterback than Mitch Trubisky, but of course Mitch Trubisky, they have a very good defense in Pittsburgh. He's a very athletic quarterback, can move better than Big Ben, and I still think is a better option than Big Ben, where the wheels are coming off the wagon at this point. He's falling apart physically. I think that's an absolute plus to get a guy like Mitch in there because he's better than Mason Rudolph and he's better than Haskins, even though I thought Haskins would eventually develop into that guy behind Big Ben. He has not. So now it's Mitch Trubisky's turn to bridge the gap until they either draft a guy this year and work him in or just draft a guy at some point in general within the next 2 years. But yeah, the Cooper one, not really. Like, it's like incredibly interesting. If you're a Cowboys fan, you hope to keep Coop, but I think he served his purpose there. You got your value out of him, and I think the Browns will get their value out of him as well, because you can always, flip him at a point too. But I think that you got to give Baker Mayfield a chance. You got to give him a guy that he can work with, especially Odell didn't work out. Jarvis, I don't think was ever up to the level of playing at that. He was, especially in Miami, especially at his peak levels of play. The chemistry just wasn't there. We'll see if he can build it with Amari Cooper. Now, the interesting one is a move that would be a trade is the Deshaun Watson one, where the Panthers and Saints are meeting with him, and those are the only true two options that he's really looking at. At least that's what the reports would say. No legal, there will be no legal matters over any of this. Everything was settled civilly, so look at that as however you want. No, legal pressing charges, just the civil suits that were, settled out for Deshaun Watson. He's still an elite quarterback in this league, can still be, I think, at his peak, at the best of his play, can be a top 5 quarterback in this league. Certainly can play at that level, and I think at a point was. But without a doubt, top 10. I think unquestionably top 10, even though he hasn't played in a year. And you need those elite guys to win in this league. Now you get a Saints defense, it's very good. You get Michael Thomas back. Maybe the addition of Jarvis Landry and Deshaun Watson at the Saints, it opens up for the Saints. Now the Panthers, they'd probably be able to, have a little more, trade capital moving on from Christian McCaffrey. Maybe they want to zip Christian McCaffrey down to the Texans because they're ready to move on from him considering his contract and his injury history. That's a possibility, but I'm not. I think McCaffrey. I'm not sold on McCaffrey. Of course, the Saints have to deal with Alvin Kamara as well. What will happen there? Suddenly, we're becoming now this squad of troubled players if we do pull the trigger on a Deshaun Watson move. But I think that not the Panthers secondary looks very good between J.C. Horn, Stephon Gilmore. So, and they might even be able to go get Sauce Gardner as well too. Even though those are young guys, looking to step right in and be elite playmakers. Of course, J.C. Horn had the injury as well too. They let A.J. Boye go. But yeah, I think overall, Brady going to shift a significant amount of the NFL free agency, but either way, teams with a lot of cap space can do what they're going to do. Like Trent Baalke, he's on the hot seat. They want him out of there. They're wearing the clown suits, and this is a guy that decided, hey, I'm going to go and just throw this cash around at a lot of guys that may have had very good career years in comparison. But then overall, you look at the price they're paying for these guys, like a Christian Kirk or the Olakun deal, where it's like they're not household names. People kind of know who they are. They've had the best years of their career, but they really haven't done an incredible amount to warrant the price tag they're going to get paid. Especially with Zay Jones too, where it's like he's the Raiders continue to develop above average receivers that aren't elite receivers. They continue to take these guys that are kind of down and out looking for a squad, and they kind of turn them into decent guys. They haven't created an elite over the top product yet, or at least since Amari. They could, of course, I'm going to go look for that in free agency, but they've developed some decent receivers out of there that have gone on to get paid bigger contracts, like Zay Jones. So certainly an interesting one there with the Jags, and where they're throwing their money around to. Everybody seems like it's a big day. It's a great thing. They're getting in weapons and everything, but it's like, aren't there other guys that number would match that have proven more? No, maybe they're looking for the upside, and that's fine. But, in a losing culture, it's tough to continue to progress them up. But we'll see what the future holds for this Jags team under Doug Peterson and under the quarterback play of Trevor Lawrence. A big one for the Cowboys, too. Also get rid of Amari. You lose a couple of you guys in free agency. I think getting the extension for DeMarcus Lawrence is a big one because he's a very good, edge pressure that is a very effective defensive player that was going to have a very high cap hit if they didn't assign him to that extension. So the Gallup extension, I think, so again, a good one. I think Gallup will be a solid number 2 to CeeDee Lamb once he gets back from injury. I think he'll be just fine. But the Cowboys, they knew this. They knew this going into this offseason. As they underperformed in the playoffs, they were going to have a lot of these high numbers and a lot of these players that they weren't going to be able to afford to bring back. That did put up very good numbers for them. They weren't going to be able to bring them back. So, but that's a big one. DeMarcus Lawrence, a big one. Gallup's a good one. And, relying on CeeDee Lamb to be that guy. We'll see what the future holds for them boys. I mean, I can really continue to go through this for a very long time. NFL free agency could take up a significant amount of the show, but I'm going to leave it where it's at. We're going to move on to the next portion of the show, which is March Madness. Of course, the playing games happening now. It will be tonight that the playing games take place. It's incredible basketball. I think it's basketball in its purest form in terms of passion and competitiveness. Incredible basketball, incredible emotions, purest form of basketball, and I'm just incredibly excited to watch what's going to take place. The upsets. We have nuns, we have certain mascots, courts, good looking courts and facilities. I said the upsets, 16-1, 15-2. We'll see if any of that does take place and what happens with, I personally, I think Gonzaga and Chet Holmgren, Gonzaga consistently over the years really has been more of a team that chokes, who doesn't really show up in these big games, has, consistently underperformed on the big stage, even when they are favorites to do so. But I think this Chet Holmgren kid is just different, just a different breed. And I see Gonzaga going all the way to win this thing. But, Baylor still has a very talented squad. Villanova will always be a threat when being coached by Jay Wright. Wisconsin, Auburn was a number 1. Tennessee even has a 3 that could have had a chance of being a 2. Kentucky as well, too, under John Calipari. Oscar Tshiebwe's had a great year. You got some sleepers as well, too. You have Illinois in there as well. Providence has been a pretty good run, even though they've been one of the luckier teams. If you look at some of the statistics that will prove more of luck in terms of winning close games, even against bad teams. But it's why it's March Madness. We'll see what's going, how everything's going to take place. I said Illinois with Kofi Cockburn up there. Iowa as well, too, on a pretty good run after winning their conference tournament, defeating Purdue, and then Purdue's also been pretty good throughout the year. So we'll really, again, we'll see. I think it's going to be Gonzaga, and realistically, it'll be a lot of 1s and 2s running to the Final Four, the Elite Eight. Might have a couple of maybe an 11 in there, maybe a 4 in there in Illinois, because I'm not sure if Auburn's for real. But actually, I think Auburn's down there with Wisconsin. So we'll only time will tell. I think Illinois is more legit than Zona up there, and then I like in Tennessee as well. I like Auburn coming a long way down there in the tournament as well too, but only to a certain extent. Baylor, like I said, very talented. Nova, very talented. So we'll see. Can Providence make the miracle run? Like I said, more of the local squad here. But of course, you can talk about Bryant too. Bryant being they have to beat Wright State first, but Peter Kiss leads the nation in scoring and has very charismatic, very high character guy out there on the court. Can he do the miraculous? I mean, one time has the 16 seed beaten the 1 seed, the UMBC squad. Can this happen again with Arizona? I think if there's a team for it to happen to of any of the 1 seeds, I think Arizona would be the one. So we'll see. They crushed Wagner. I'm sorry. I'm thinking Mo Wagner. They crushed Wagner in their conference championship game, the NEC. I think they should beat Wright State. I think it's been an incredible run for the Bryant Bulldogs. So a lot of people that have gone there have graduated from there. A lot of friends that have gone there. So shout out to Bryant. Shout out to the little guys in the tournament and the underdogs in the tournament. Like I said, Providence is up there as well too. Like I said, there's that stat in terms of close games that they've won, games of less than 10 points, I think it was, or something that kind of proves they're one of the luckier teams in terms of how people look at certain numbers to determine who they think is going to go deep in the tournament. Providence, not really being high up there and in those numbers and in those metrics of teams that they see set on going deep into the tournament. But hey, they're the local team. They're half hour from my house. I'm certainly going to be pulling for them throughout the tournament. But we'll see how far they can go. I think they should make it to the Sweet 16. But any further than that, I can't see it happening. But why they call it March Madness. So we'll see what the future holds for all of these squads. I'm just really excited to be able to watch all of them. In a lot of these classes, I will have my laptop up and I will have March Madness on. It's just how it is. I'll give it to you straight like that. In car radio, everything, March Madness is going to be on consistently and starting tonight. So the last thing to talk about is the MLB lockout, coming to an end, which, again, now they're competing with the NFL offseason, which they really shouldn't have had to have done. But at the end of the day, I'm just ecstatic that baseball is back. Baseball is just, I just love baseball so much. I don't love the MLB, but I love baseball. Of course, there's college baseball, but being able to watch professional baseball again, and everything going on with it, I am incredibly happy. I was debating boycotting it just out of the frustration of everything that happened, with the lockout and how everything went down. Millionaires versus billionaires. No one represents the fan. No one represents the fan in any of those negotiations. In one way or the other, if the players get more money, the owners are just going to take that money out of the fans' pockets. So no matter what, the fans are being exploited for their money with their passion for the game, and they have zero representation into anything that's going on with these negotiations. And one way or the other, the money's coming out of the fans' pocket, which is incredibly frustrating. But that's just how things are. I'm just happy baseball is back, and they've been off to a heater. Their offseason, they've been off to a hot start, man. The Tatis injury with the wrist of the motorcycle, that coming out, him needing surgery. Matt Olson going to Atlanta. It looks like Freddie Freeman's done in Atlanta. The DH being in the AL and the NL. We're still getting 162 games. The 9-inning extra, 9-inning doubleheader games. No runner on second base to start off in extra innings. And still 162. And we're going to have a lot of these doubleheaders and not the 7-inning ones anymore. The Suarez and Winker trade to Seattle. Donaldson to New York for Urshela and Gary Sanchez. So, like I said, crazy. I just love it too much to be able to not watch it or to not, pay attention to it. A lot more going to take place. I haven't even thought of preseason predictions or anything yet, so please don't ask. I have no idea yet. And yeah, Jackie Bradley's in the Red Sox. For any of you Red Sox fans that don't know this, Jackie Bradley is back. And, hits a whopping 160 with the Brewers. Did he hit a whopping 160? He might have actually had a worse batting average. I'm actually going to look it up right now. I'm going to look, because I don't even want to look at his contract because it's disgusting. He hit 163 with the Brewers. He actually hit 283 with the Red Sox in the World Series here, which is in 2020. In 2020, so which is just insane. The fact that he hit 280, and that's why he got paid the contract that he did. Of course, they're going to find some unique fix in his swing. They're going to find something in the film that totally changes the way that he approaches hitting in the game, and something that he has never proven he can do for a second in this game for at least more than a week, consistently. And he's just I can't. I'm sick. I'm sick to my stomach. I don't like to put down, professional athletes like that. I couldn't hit a baseball at the professional level to save my life. But I might be able to hit 170. I can't play defense like Jackie Bradley, which is why I'd be on the out. But I might be able to hit 170. I really do think I could. You gave me the at bats, the minors. I could probably hit 170 for a season. I'm just gonna go right out and say it. I don't like to be that guy, though, where this guy sucks or he's bad at the game, because it's just so generalizing into a professional athlete. I guess you can say, most people assume in comparison, right? Like, he sucks. But no one's going to say in comparison. He sucks in comparison to everybody else. I guess it's inferred. It's assumed. I just don't like saying it that way. I'd like to let you know what he sucks at more specifically. So, it's not like, oh, he's a terrible baseball player, but he's really not, because he's a great defensive center fielder. But this dude cannot hit. He cannot hit the baseball. There's no, I'm not even saying to say this guy sucks. You can just infer that he sucks to the fact that I'm saying that he cannot hit the baseball at all. He is not even close to a professional baseball hitter. Professional baseball player, yeah, he's contracted. He can play center field. But he is not anywhere close to a professional baseball hitter. Defensive player, sure. Hitter, no. He cannot hit. Infer that he sucks to the fact that I'm saying he cannot hit. And not only does he not hit, he's not as fast as he was. We can't run. You can't put it on the ground and be like, he doesn't make contact. He strikes out at such a high rate for a guy like that. Like, he doesn't make productive outs. Just a fly ball here, a ground ball there. Just give me something to move the runner over, bunt. He couldn't even drop down bunts at a point in Boston. Like, just, oh, God, is it frustrating. He just not a productive hitter. Like I said, he just strikes out a lot. Like, if you're going to strike out a lot, you better hit 40, 50 home runs in this league the way it goes. And he's not going to ever come close to that at all. But I'm already getting sick to my stomach, so I'm just going to stop talking about it. We're going to talk about the other moves. Now, the other one I want to talk about, one of the ones I want to talk about, is the Matt Olson move to Atlanta for some of their top prospects, which hurts. I mean, at least you're going to have a first baseman there that's a stud, that's an all-star in Matt Olson, but he's not Freddie Freeman. He's not an MVP. He's a good player, solid first baseman, but he's not Freddie Freeman. And it really was a seamless transition from the Chipper Jones era to the Freddie Freeman era. I mean, Jason Hayward was kind of set to be the guy there, but never really panned out. But, the Freddie Freeman era has been, one of the more memorable Atlanta Braves eras that I've known. I mean, I remember the era of Maddox, Glavine, that was before my time. And then, Tim Hudson kind of going to the Chipper Jones. The remnants were there as I was growing up and watching baseball. But the real main one that I've been a part of is the Freddie Freeman one, where no one ever really thought he would take him over the top, and now World Series champions. I mean, even without Acuna, the Jorge Soler situation, and him coming up to be a clutch bat for them. They're gonna get Acuna back, which he'll be the new face of that franchise. The torch will be passed to him. And Olson, like I said, Olson's still a solid player, but yeah, Freddie Freeman not being in Atlanta. I mean, of course, there's a DH too. I mean, he still could stay. I mean, but I doubt they make that move I doubt they make that move if they think that Freddie Freeman's coming back and staying in Atlanta. And it's a sad day. Freddie Freeman belongs in Atlanta. Like, Freddie Freeman is a Brave. If I have to watch Freddie Freeman in the Yankees jersey, I'm gonna throw up. Same as the Dodgers. I'm not a big Dodgers guy, either. Of course, I'm a Sox fan. And I hold no grudges to LA because we beat them. It doesn't matter. We beat them. But the Freddie Freeman one is just, it really is going to be weird. And I think everybody could agree with it. It's going to be just incredibly, almost uncomfortable to look at Freddie Freeman in another jersey. So I hope he stays in Atlanta for that reason. I mean, I'd take him in the Sox, but I hope he stays in Atlanta, of course. But yeah, it's just going to be very awkward. Of course, Carlos Correa still out there on the market as well for any of these teams looking for, a shortstop, or if he was even to move to 2B, but he's a very good defensive shortstop. The Tatis injury, like I said, motorcycle accident. A lot of people believe it's from the motorcycle accident. He's not going to ride him anymore. This is a guy. This is a kid. It's a kid, very young, up and coming player. 14 years, $340 million. They could have avoided that contract. Now, what does that mean? Does he stay? Do you lose him? Probably, but he's had some, he had a lot of injuries these last couple years. A lot of money to a guy, for as exciting and as good as he is, to be injured as often, especially when you're riding a motorcycle around making, $340 million not guaranteed dollars if you're riding a motorcycle. An interesting deal. They chose not to void it. He's going to miss like a good chunk of, I believe, 3 months of the season, or at least maybe 3 months from now. So, March, April, May. Try to get back around maybe before the All-Star, get into a good swing of things before the All-Star break. They've been shopping some guys around like Will Myers and Eric Hosmer. It's a head scratcher. It's a head scratcher. Think with your head there. Motorcycle. Have fun on a motorcycle. $340 million. Like, someone's got to talk to him, and someone's got to talk to him, not from the franchise, just one of his family members. Like, buddy, you don't even have to play well to make this money. You just have to play in general, or just get hurt while you're playing. You can't do stuff like that off the field. Again, he's a kid. It's a risk when you want to pay out that money to beat him to the punch. You don't have to pay him too two big-time contracts. He kind of beat him to the punch there. But he's still very, very young, and decision-making process not at its best there. If it's true that it was the motorcycle accident, of course, that wasn't officially reported, but that's the belief because the reports were out of that. Fantastic player, again, that they're going to miss. Great wins above replacement, great for the game of baseball, and this is a guy that we're going to continue to miss again this year with some injury problems. When you're playing at he's such a great athlete, and flying around the way he does, he's picked up some knocks here or there with whatever, maybe thumbs, knees, wrist. He's had a mixed bag of injuries and things that have kept him off the field at this point. And this one might not even be from an on-field incident. It might not even be from an on-field play. It might be from just lack of better judgment of deciding to ride a motorcycle when you're making that much money and risking that. There's plenty of time to ride motorcycles into your 40s when you're done with your playing career. Now, personally, the NL getting the DH I think is huge. I think that's clutch. For baseball, I think that makes it much, much better, harder to manage maybe not. People say easier to manage, harder to manage. I just think it's better for the game as a whole. That's why Nelson Cruz goes to the National. That opens up way more jobs for a lot of these hitters. I think it makes the game way more enjoyable. Pitchers aren't going to get hurt by getting hit by pitches. And on the same token, or swinging a bat. There's guys who just pull a lat from swinging a bat because they don't do it a lot. Ryman accidentally, shout out Chris Move. But I think that's good for baseball. Nelson Cruz, Juan Soto, that lineup looking pretty good now. The Nationals, it opens things up for these teams that might not have as good of a pitching staff down there in the NL that they can break things open now with a DH, and then their offense can really pick up a lot of that slack. I think that's great. I guess I think it's great for the game of baseball that they're adding the DH in the NL. It's amazing to me that it took that long to do it. I know some people are going to be like, well, that's not real baseball, and I like the difference. It's not worth it for the when you see Bartolo Colon hit a home run, the one that he hit, it's not worth it for that funny moment, or the Madison Bumgarner home runs. It's really not worth it in those moments, considering how much more you can get out of these DHs and there's just true ball. So it's at every other level in college as well too. I believe pitchers can hit, but they're coming from high school where they might have and played two positions. But there's DHs at every level of game. So continue to allow that. A lot more POs. I don't really think there's going to be a lot more. I think POs more and more common. And just change with the times, man. Just change with the times. There's going to be more changes to come. That's one of them that I'm happy to see. I'm sure there's some changes that will come that I won't be happy to see. But that's a change that I am happy to see. And I'm glad the MLB got it done. I think that's one of the positives coming out of this CBA. And Nelson Cruz. Nelson Cruz has been in the league, or at least was. I believe when he was drafted, it was before Juan Soto was born, which is insane. And they're now on the same roster, going to compete for a title together. Like I said, the Mariners, the Suarez and Winker trade, don't have a ton of information on why it was made. Of course, the Mariners were in the hunt all the way last year. You got to find a way to compete with an Angels team that should be better, an A's team that's getting weaker. That West, the Astros are going to lose Correa. Maybe they smell blood in the water there, and they add two solid bats to that lineup. Even though it's a bigger and more awkward stadium for power bats, they had two solid players, an all-star, I believe, and the other one was a former all-star. So they had two solid pieces to their lineup and to the field. And just some of the moves that I'm sure will be set to come when I am able to address this on next Tuesday, and as the season goes on throughout, as weeks go on, I will be addressing things piece by piece and more pictures and posts. So make sure you follow the Rufus Rundown on Instagram, Rufus Rundown on Twitter. Like and subscribe to everything here. Like I said, more guests to be coming. It's going to be a lot of just different topics, different conversations, different backgrounds. But I'm really excited for what the show's coming with. Again, only time I'm really missing from there was the spring break trip. But like I said, it's going to be well more than 50 episodes when the calendar year is all said and done. And I'm really excited for it in terms of what that's going to do for viewership, getting to 1,000 subscribers, getting to 1,000 followers on both Instagram accounts, both the Rufus Rundown 2 and the Rufus Rundown, which I think will become just at Rufus Rundown again once that period of time from changing it gets played out. But I'm really excited for the future of the show. I'm glad you guys tuned in to this one today. Again, there'll be some Liverpool talk and soccer talk in the next one. And again, I can set up, like I said, more defined schedules throughout the weeks now, as I know that every Tuesday, there's going to be a Rufus Rundown every Tuesday, which is pretty cool. Again, thank you guys for tuning in. It's your boy Rufus.
So back to what I was saying.